Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Trail Trash Podcast. Jason and John here. Garrett taking the night off, uh, doing his thing that he does. And we are here to just kind of, I don't even know what you would call this episode. We've kicked around some titles. I personally like Preparation H. John recommended Highway to Hellbender. But this is the kind of an episode to kind of get with John and talk a little bit about his Hellbender training, where he's at. I think we're just a couple weeks away,
We are 2 weeks away from today.
2 weeks
Starts
away.
on Friday, the May 10th. So yeah, 14 days.
Hellbender 2.0.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. An
so
alternative title would be for this episode would be just the two of us, like that Go Withers song.
or Will
You know
Smith.
that song?
Remember Will Smith did it as well.
So did he?
Yes,
Did
he
he? Was
did.
that on his Get Jiggy With It album?
Probably, most likely. I'm not a huge Will Smith. I like the Fresh Prince. And I like Will Smith as an actor, but like his later music was not kind of my thing. I
You don't
love
think you don't think Pretty Fly for a White Guy is a banger?
Pretty Fly for a White Guy. That's The Offspring.
Oh, what am I?
Yeah, that's Offspring. That's on like 80
That makes
playlists of
more
mine.
sense. I don't know why I associated it with him, but here we are.
Here we are.
One of those
Obviously, John
90s
is,
memories.
even though John has a degree in music, he's obviously not using it
I don't have
currently.
a degree in music. I have a minor in music. My degree is in interdisciplinary studies.
Okay. Okay. First off, major, minor, whether it's a major degree, a minor degree, you've got a degree, pal. Okay. Don't downplay it. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that. Um, Kind of bring people up to speed where I'm at since it's been a minute since we've had like an episode where we just kind of talked about like our running. Um, and then just hit on a couple of like oddball things that we just want to talk about because we can. So obviously the star of the show is John because he's doing a really big relevant big race. And one that he's wanting redemption since the first time he went through the Lord opened up the sky on him and everything just fell apart. So uh weather-wise, not John. All right, so difference between then and now, there's a whole lot of differences. First off, geographically, you're now in Tennessee and not North Carolina, and you have some different training grounds. So my first question to you is, do you feel much more prepared now since you're training in the Smokies compared to when you were training in North Carolina?
Oh, absolutely. Like the train available to me out here to get out and just be on, over the weekend is much more consistent with, what you can find on the Hellbender course. So that's been a real perk and living out here, and I've taken full advantage of it.
Because I think last week's episode, Ryan hit on it pretty big about how he's training for Hard Rock in the Smokies, which is wild because I did not realize that there were so many places that you could replicate the large amount of gain so quickly. Um, like
Yeah,
he
I mean,
called
it's
out.
not even just like the amount of gain. It's just like those like extended like 5 6 mile climbs where you're just going up and there's like no downhill or respite from that climbing. No
I
shortage of those out here.
I've never have obviously never done Scar. Um, but I went up to Shuck Stack with Will and Kara, and it never felt like that climb was going to end, and we were like nowhere near the top of it.
Yeah, the fire tower, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so from like Fontana to that fire tower, you're looking at like 2,000, maybe 2,200 ish feet of climbing in 4 miles. So about a 10% gradient.
Yeah. And you feel every single bit of that too. Like it is, I mean, and for what it's worth, the trail is really well manicured through that section, but that doesn't make it any easier from the fact that you're going like straight up, like I mean, like straight up. So,
Well, like I
so
told the guys who came out here and or that accrued for Scarlet a few weeks ago, the first 14 miles going northbound is the most buffed out section of that course of the AT up here in the Smokies. After that, it's just straight up snar.
so after that, so I guess not to get off track. So the first 14 miles going northbound is pretty is pretty like straight up, and then after that, I mean, is the trail still pretty like you're gonna laugh when I say this, but is it still pretty clear? Like, is it rooty? Because I know that initial section wasn't like terrible, and I know that the AT in itself in a lot of places is I don't want to say it's clear, but like because it's walked on so much, it's more clear than say like like other trails up there. I mean, does it get really like super like technical after that?
It does. There's lots of routes, a whole lot more rocks. If you're doing the Scar northbound, when you hit mile 14, that's when you start to get up towards Rocky Top and Thunderhead, which is the most technical portion of that route.
Hmm. Well, I hope
Nobody
to.
moves fast over that.
Well, I hope to do it sometime. Love to see that. Be able to get through that, and
Yeah, we'll get you trained up for it. It'll be an experience.
it'll be
I
an
can't say
experience.
it'll always be fun, but it'll be worth it in the end.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's beautiful up there. So, I guess back to your training. So, what else differently have you done this time around between this time and last time with the training? Have you? I mean, obviously you got the same coach, but does the training look different? Anything differently this time around compared to last time?
Yeah, I mean, the training block in and of itself, it's not too drastically different. Um, Probably been a little bit more consistent just because, living out here alone, just me and Clementine out here, it's a whole lot easier to just get off and do my own thing. I don't have to adjust anything to anyone else's schedule but my own. And then just, long self-supported efforts up here in the mountains, a whole lot of those. Um, and just preps you real well for this type of race, just being self-sufficient and ready to be out there on your own for a long time. Even like, the trace has aid stations. There's some sections where you'll go a while without seeing one.
So, you're obviously like when you're up there, are you just filtering water while you're up there, or are you like taking a lot with you and just like using what you got?
um, Except for my longest run I did in this training block, I've been able to carry a sufficient amount of water to sustain me. Now, when I do go out on like these longer runs, say I will carry a good amount of gear. Like I've been carrying almost all of the required gear for Hellbender just to have on me, and I'll just carry a filter just in case to have on me. Just not a bad idea to have one of those on you.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, it's one of those things where I think ultimately at the end of the day, you're still in a remote section in the mountains and you want to have like as much, I guess I would say safety measures with you. And we
Yeah.
all know water is really essential to that. So I mean
Yeah,
having
hope for the best, prepare for the worst. Carry a filter, have an emergency blanket, an emergency bivy on me. weather jacket, that type of thing. And even on some of the longer runs, as you know, like I carry my InReach Mini on me, and I'll throw the link out to you guys just in case, right?
Right. And I actually watch John on the inReach sometimes at work. I'll load it up and look and see where he's at to make sure he's okay. And all that's smart because I think a lot of people forget, the Smoky Mountains is so pretty and stuff, but a lot of people forget just how remote it can be in sections and how, like, I remember when Tyler and I hiked up to Gregory Bald, like, there's no cell service up there. There's like nothing at all. And I mean, and and that's actually in that Fontana area. And I was thinking to myself, like if something was to happen to you up there, like it would take a minute for somebody to be able to get up there to you, even though I think it was, I don't know, maybe 7 miles hiking up to the top. But still, like just being prepared is always important. But so so being able to kind of have more freedom, I guess, with your training has made a difference. Anything nutritional? Are you going into this race attacking it nutritionally different, or are you still going with your standard, like your Roctane and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, nutritionally, not really planning on anything too different. Um, I do a lot of Roctane, yeah, but some of that may vary depending on what type of weather I get on race day. Obviously, if it's hotter on race day, I might have to back off on that a little bit just so I can drink straight up water, and not so that I'm not increasing my caloric intake with the amount of fluids I take in. But yeah, I'll do Roctane probably. These races always like to carry something sweet, something salty, something savory. So, I mean, other than the Roctane, probably have some shoes, hate gels, probably carry some beef jerky, always something nice to chew on a little bit. Maybe, no, maybe some chips or something. I don't know. We'll see.
And the aid stations for Hellbender, they're stocked pretty well, if I remember correctly, right?
They are, and I'll probably be relying on them for more real food, just what's available.
So gear wise, obviously, I know you're still using your Solomon pack. Shoes, what shoes are we going to go with?
Probably be doing the Solomon S Lab Ultra. Those have been working out real well for me. Um, yeah, they do great on this. They've been doing great on this type of terrain. They're pretty comfortable and have enough, cushion and stuff. You can be in them for a while, or at least I can.
Man, I have not had my feet in a pair of Solomon. I can't even remember. Well, actually, that's not fair. I cut my grass in some speed cross for a long time before I wore those things down. But I've not actually physically ran in a pair of Solomons in a minute. Um, it was funny. I was training somebody at work about a month or so ago, and the guy walked in wearing a pair of Speed Cross, which was like not the type of shoe that you would expect, like at a place like I work at. I mean, that shoe's a little on the aggressive side, and it looks kind of weird.
So
But
it's too much shoe for me.
yeah, yeah, but I've never worn any of the other ones before. I've only just worn the Speed Cross and what's the other one? One of their road shoes. Back when I had a connection with Solomon and they could get me
Yeah,
discounts. So,
yeah. I mean, if Hoka is too narrow for you, then Solomon's probably going to be too narrow for you too. You're probably going to be a little SOL there, but uh, I've had good luck. I don't know with you can still travel. I'd be interested in your feedback.
yeah, I like to put I think the crappy thing is there's like no Solomon rep that does like Solomon demos in the area, not like Hoka does. And and Ultra does locally. Which side note, um, I don't think I've mentioned it on the show, but we had Melanie who was from Hoka. And if you remember, she was talking about a demo that she was having locally and invited me to the demo, um, and invited me back into a pair of Hokas. I think there's no secret for anybody who listens to this show that I'm a huge Ultra person. Some people think to my detriment, but I feel like that that's always been my shoe. And so I get there at Mad Cow Running and Outfitters there in McMinnville, Monica's store, and I put my feet in a pair of Cliftons, and I be damn if my feet didn't feel exactly how they felt back when I bought those Cliftons right before I ran rock and roll, uh, what seems like an eternity ago. And I walked around with them for a minute and I looked over at Monica. I was like, these things feel exactly the same. And she said, Jason, try some Mach sixes and see what you think about it. And so I asked Melanie, I said, can you let me kind of trade these out? And she put me in some Mach sixes. I ran the demo in some Mach sixes. No issues, believe it or not. That shoe actually fit well. They were not too narrow. They were narrow, but they weren't like too narrow to the point where it was rubbing like a hot spot on my foot. Ironically, I can't remember. I talked to another runner, and I can't remember where it was. I wanted to say it was at the Cave and Cow race we did last weekend, and they said they had the same problem with the Cliftons that I had, where it would rub a spot on the inside part of your arch. I think it might have been Chris Cope. Maybe it was Chris Cope. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a shoe I like that's a Hoka shoe. So there you go. Um, would love to still try a pair of speed goats at some point, just to say I tried a pair of speed goats. So
You gotta hold out for the Speedgoat Evos.
need to bring those bad boys back. So well that's exciting. So we're 2 weeks out. You seem like you've got everything lined up. You're obviously, I mean, you don't really taper, do you? I guess you kind of let off the gas a little bit, but
Yeah, trying to remember when my longest run was. That was
I
see
mean,
if
it
I can
seems like
get back
I mean, it seems like you've been doing tons of long runs. Uh,
in.
I mean, every weekend it seems like you're knocking out these epic runs up in the Smokies. But I mean, 2 weeks out, you still, I know I'm more non-traditional. I usually would let off the gas way before. Um, Ironically, I did all that tapering at the last race and it didn't even help me because I still got hurt. So there you go.
I did my longest run on March the 29th. So that was
About a month ago.
about 5 weeks ago. That was actually a really fun ride. So that was somewhere between 34 and 35 miles. Parked at the visitor center, the Sugarlands Visitor Center in the Smokies, which is one of the more trafficked ones because it's just outside of Gatlinburg. So I parked there. I ran up the road about 2 miles and then hopped onto the trail and took a few trails all the way up to Klingman's Dome the week before the road to it opened. So it was the weirdest feeling up there. I had the whole observation tower to myself, which just never happens. It was a clear day up there, which never happens. And, I could see all the way out to Mount Mitchell, which is on the Hellbender course. And then I ran back down and onto the road and back to the visitor center. And that was about a 9 or 9.5 hour day there. So that was my longest run. As far as like total volume, See what I'm looking at here. Probably, yeah, topped out at some 15 and 16-hour weeks before starting to come back down a little bit. Had some 10 and 11-hour weeks. That's just pure running, just running time, or time on feet, because I had a few walks and maybe two. These past 2 weeks have been between 10 and 11 hours. So took a step down with my long run this week. Going to take another step down next week, and then you know, week of race is just easy, like 30-40 minute runs here and there, and just to stay fresh. So that's what we're looking at.
Exciting. So it sounds like you're ready to go. I mean, you put in the work. Um, you have a solid plan. You've got a good, you know, good level of fitness about you. I mean, I think you should easily lay waste to that course. So, looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel good physically. Mentally, I'm getting there. Just need to do a little bit more course recon and research leading into it, so I have an idea of how to tackle it a little bit going in. Just kind of think about where all like the major climbs and stuff on the course are, so I can just get that in my head. This course has five quote unquote major climbs that are 3,000 feet plus of climbing on each one. Um, so yeah, just kind of think about where those are. So when I'm in them, I can say, okay, just have this amount to go. This is where I'm at.
I mean, you always do a good job, I think, in preparing for races. Hence why you tend to be pretty successful. So, 2 weeks away. Hopefully, we'll be coming back with a uh, with a post race update on how it went. So, very excited
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. The only other unknown is just the weather, but ultimately can't control that. What it gives us is what the mountains give us. So,
Yeah, just hope for no hailstorms at 6,000 feet. So
and if it is, I'll just keep moving through it.
keep moving through it. Um, so um, my update is much shorter. I'm actually been running now for well over a month. For anybody who follows me on Strava, can see that. Not much, 20, 25 miles, just basically easing back into things. It's funny because this is I think I've said it multiple times. This is the first time I've ever had been hurt to this level. And mentally, it plays such a huge mind game with you because literally anytime I step and my foot feels weird, I'm like, oh my gosh, is it coming back? You know, I actually ran a trail race last weekend, the Cave and Cow 5K slash half marathon. I had to drop down to the 5K because I had some stuff going on with my dad. And, you know, um, I don't know why Monica called it a 5K because it was not close to a 5K.
Kind of
Uh,
closer to a 6K.
it was like almost 4 miles. I mean, let's just lay it on the table here. I mean, Monica, I asked her if she measured it with her eyes closed, and the thing is,
I mean, it's a trail run. That's expected, though.
I mean, let me tell you something. And that race was wild because it started out and there was this huge ass climb. I mean, just huge. And of course, what does everybody do at the beginning of the race? They just take off balls out, right? Always. It's like everybody's just like sprinting. You got these track kids, that take off ahead of everybody. Um, Tyler's there, Will's there, a couple other, local guys that's in pretty decent shape. One of the track kids like bombed out before the climb even hit the top because this was a freaking steep freaking climb. It was steep. And
I'm about to pull up the course profile here and look at how steep it actually was.
it was pretty steep. It was it was you can and and it was funny because you get to the top and then it flattens out a little bit, but the course was deceptionally, more technical than I thought it would be. And and I don't know for most people when you're coming off of an injury and you go back to trail running again, and especially when the course is wet, like I immediately am very cognitive of every step I take, where I'm stepping. And I have all these people just flying around me, just flying past me because I'm like worried about stepping weird and hurting my foot and everything else. And but
So it looks like you climbed about 300 feet in the first mile. So yeah, about a 12-ish% grade
I mean it was
average. Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing's gonna, hurt anybody that's really in shape. I mean, you probably would have flown right up it, but like for those of us who don't have their trail legs, um, it's pretty tough. But what was cool about the course was you came out of the woods and the course was actually on the grounds of Cumberland Caverns, which is this cave system up in Middle Tennessee for those folks that aren't local. And you ran into the cave and you ran Monica said you run to the back of the cave. And so, when you hear that, you're thinking, it's not really the back of the cave. I mean, come on, can't be. So, like, I immediately knew that the course was long because you come out of the woods and you're already at almost 3 miles, right? And so you go into this cave, and I don't know how many people's ever ran in a cave before, but like it's dark, and and here's what's even more funny. I had my really expensive headlamp, right? I had that really the Neo, whatever the hell it's called, the really,
That's all now.
yeah, very nice, thank you, John. And I was going to wear it, and then I brought it out, and of course Will gives me that look like, aren't we a little overdone with that headlamp? And so I immediately am like, okay, maybe it's a little aggressive. And Will's like, here, I have a flashlight. Take this flashlight. So he hands me this flashlight. And this thing is probably, I mean, it's
They're like one
probably,
of those like 20-pound mag lights.
no, it's about the size of like two finger lengths. It's pretty small, small enough to stick like in a pocket. And so, I get to the cave, and there's a lady running beside me who did Ironmans. And I get in the cave and it's pretty lit up at first. And then all of a sudden it gets like dark with like this very little bit of light kind of off to the side. And I'm like, I'm trying not to like fall on something because the rocks, they're not jagged, but they just kind of raise up a little bit. They're nice and smooth, but kind of raised. And I had Will's janky flashlight, which I want to say this. I appreciate him letting me use it. It's a huge shout out because I know I'm going to hear it from him. But this thing did not really put off a whole lot of light. I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, like my cell phone light probably would have been better than that. But like, anyway, you run all the way to the back of this cave, you get a glow stick, and then you have to run back out the cave, and then you go to the finish. And man, it was a freaking fun race. Next year, I'm going to go back and I want to do the half marathon because you run five of those uh, loops in the woods. Then you go in the cave, and then you finish. But it was pretty neat. A lot of cool local runners there that did very well. Jason McVeigh, Julie Height did well. Kara Molitor was there. She did well. Chris
So
Cope.
wait, before we move on from the cave though. So you don't have GPS signal in the cave, right?
Right.
So I mean, are you sure this course was long? I mean, it might have been accurate.
I think it was long because
You
Tyler was
sure?
Tyler was
No,
long.
it was in the cave.
Tyler was long, Will was long. That cave was
Yeah, but
pretty
you're
deep.
relying on GPS data, which is not accurate because GPS doesn't beam into the cave.
I mean, it was long. Okay. I don't need your scientific approval.
I'm just saying, because I mean, your Strava activity also says you're in a 2 second, 400-meter time.
You know what? I was really feeling fresh during that section of it. Uh,
Was
I was
that
having,
before or after the climb?
that was probably after, but yeah, I was feeling pretty fresh. But the good news is I was able to run a race, and I have Yamakra, the 20K next month, which is
What
exciting.
date is that on?
Huh?
What date is that on? Is that on the 18th,
I think it's
19th?
on. I think it's on like the 19th.
So it's Sunday.
Yeah, it's on a Sunday. Yeah, I think it's Sunday the 19th.
Are you just driving up and back on Sunday?
No, I'm going down on the 19th. I mean on the Saturday before,
Yeah.
and that way because it's a long drive from here out to there.
Yeah, it's like what, 2.5, 3 hours?
No, it's probably more like three and a half, three and a half. Um, but anyway, I'm excited about it. I don't expect to really burn it up out there. I will say I ran out at Percy Warner last week and did way better than I thought I was going to do out there. Like I really expected that I was going to have a hard way, and I did far better than I thought I would. Um, so I'm hoping to go out there again this weekend at some point, maybe Sunday, go out and hit the red and the white again. And really just being smart, easing back in, not doing anything stupid, and just getting back in the running again, if that makes sense. I think that's kind of my hope with all this is just get back in and just get out and just do some nice fun runs and stuff, jump in a race here and there and see what happens. So
Yeah, for sure. Like, we've talked a little bit about it on the show on off, on the show on and off a little bit, just about finding that joy in running. If it's not joyful, why are you doing it? Like, it won't always be fun, but it should always be rewarding.
I agree with that. And I think, and first off, I have nothing against 100-mile races, but
You don't
they,
have anything at all against 100-mile races.
no, I'm talking about for the everybody else but me. Okay. I do feel like sometimes when you sign up for these big races, it feels like a second job because you feel like you're required to put in the work so that you can complete this task. And and I think that's where I'm at sometimes with running is I don't want to feel like I'm like it's a bad thing if I'm not out running, if that makes sense. And I'm not out running 15, 20-mile runs or 30-mile runs. I just want to go out and run. Like last week when I did Percy Warner, um, I got done, I went, I changed clothes, and I literally just sat outside and just like listened to the woods and like listened to everybody around me, and it was just so wonderful because like I didn't have to, like there was nothing like in my head like did I hit a time right, how did my effort feel, none of that really mattered to me other than the fact is I got out, I ran, I had a good time, and I was done. Um so yeah, so anyway, the good news is I'm running, so that's probably the best news possible. There is one thing, though, that we've got to address on the show that is the most important thing that our viewers need to know, and
Is
that
that
is that
Titans'
it
second round draft pick? They picked a defensive tackle, by the way.
that's not it.
Could
We
be it.
have we have laid to rest and retired the best crew vehicle of all time. God rest her soul. The Shag and
Goodness, I cannot believe we didn't lead in with this. This is by far the most important thing. We should have just dedicated a whole show to this.
So the Shaggin' Wagon has been retired, traded in for a newer model. She was starting to show some chinks in the armor, um, and we had to trade her in. So
Get to take her out to the farm.
um,
How many miles do the Shaggin' Wagon have?
not as many as you would think. 200 and like 6,000.
That's
So
still pretty solid.
I
So
mean, it's
was it a 2001 model? What year was
2013.
it?
I
2013.
Yeah, I did that in 10 years.
Yeah,
That's a lot of miles when you start thinking about it.
it is. How many races did it have on
Let's start counting.
it?
Okay, so easily there was rock and roll was probably its first.
Which, by
Uh
the way, rock and roll national is tomorrow. Good luck to everyone running in that god awful heat.
yes, rock and roll, then Yamacraw, Strolling Jim, the Damn Yeti 50 miler, Cloudland Canyon, um uh all the hundreds, all the Yeti 100s. So what was it, like 18 of those? Um let's see. Shit, what else did I do in that? What else did I do in that? Savage Golf, Stump Jump. Gosh, I mean, pretty much every race that I have put together. I'm looking at my medals now. I mean, hills and hollers, middle half, flying monkey. I mean, that van was the pinnacle of crew vehicles. You know, there's been more naked people in that van. Um, I think than probably any other vehicle possibly of all time. I mean, I can't tell you how many
That's why it's
people.
called the Shaggin' Wagon.
That's right. I can't tell you how many people has changed
Just
inside that
kidding.
van.
It's actually the nudity you don't get excited about,
Yeah, that's fair.
and that is
Um,
not sexy at all.
I tell you though, the one time that the shaggin' wagon came through more than any one time ever was was it Tunnel Hill, because man, that heater and that thing was phenomenal. It turned up and turned out at Tunnel
Brought
Hill.
Jason back from his deathbed.
Yeah, if you hadn't heard, I had hypothermia.
He
So
still has it to this day.
I still have it. As we speak, I have it at this moment. So but anyway, I traded it in and am now the proud owner of a Mazda CX-50, which is not got the room that the Shaggin' Wagon had, but is definitely a
Yeah.
nice substitution.
Yeah, I think my first encounter with the Shaggin' Wagon was on the way to the 2019 edition of the Damn Yeti.
Oh yeah.
But what is your favorite memory from the Shaggin' Wagon?
I would have to say most of the Yeti 100 races were fun in that, from the standpoint of like most of my real memories from using that van for running comes from that race, because like it seemed like that was where it was utilized like the most. You know what I mean? Like it was a legitimate crew vehicle at those races. I mean, you had all sorts of stuff coming out of that thing. I remember Sam and Will took like a car seat out of it one time, and it was sitting on like the porch of the Airbnb. And Will was like, "Don't."
I mean that just fits with the aesthetic of Damascus.
Yeah.
You kind
He's like, "Don't be alarmed." I was like,
someone someone at an Airbnb somewhere has like the backseat from like a Honda Odyssey sitting on their porch, and they're just like upcharging that because that's just part of like their decor.
exactly. So that was that it was a good vehicle, and for what it's worth, 200,000 miles. I think the major repair that was done on it was an alternator was replaced. Other than like brakes and tires, nothing else broke on that thing. So it was like, it was like the Iron Man of crew vehicles and minivans. So anyway, I'm excited with the new car. It's weird having a new car. You look at all the, you're worried about scratching it all the time and messing it up all the time. So, and but I'm enjoying it. It's nice. It's been a long time since I've had something new. So, but anyway, so rest in peace, Shaggin' Wagon. Um, I did ask,
Everyone,
yeah, I did ask if I could do a video montage before the dealership took it, and the guy looked at me like I was crazy. So, unfortunately, there's no. You know what? I should see if Will's got like stock footage of the Shaggin' Wagon and see if he can throw together like some sort of you know, memorial type video of it.
you can have like Elton John playing Candle in the Wind in the background, and everyone can just like pour one out while we're watching it.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, that's honestly probably the biggest thing everybody has missed from us, not having an update in a while. Because honestly, John training for Hellbender is not as important as the Shaggin' Wagon's retirement.
No, it's definitely
Um,
not.
Me running again isn't important as the Shaggin' Wagon's retirement. So
Stag Wagon touched everybody's soul who interacted with it in a
that,
positive manner.
that's right. It's a fair statement. So jumping over to a couple other, well, at least one other thing. I want to talk about the the beast, the legend, Courtney MF and Dauwalter came in third overall at the Ultra Trail Mount Fuji 100-mile race in Japan. And the big, gosh, the huge level of that is crazy. Like, think about that a minute. She came in third overall, like, and she was second for a little bit. And like, you really have to start asking questions like, is she when does the conversation start? Is she the greatest female trail runner of all time? And I know a lot of people will say Ann Trayson, which is very fair because there's she's a legend. But man, I mean, third overall is pretty daggum big in a race like that, and it just goes to show you how remarkable and talented she truly is. So huge shout out to her. I know she would never come on our little show in 1,000 years, but like we all know that I have the Courtney Dauwalter crush because I talk about how amazing she is all the time. And the third overall is phenomenal. The fact that she was second for a little bit is crazy. And the fact that she came in third overall is just remarkable. And at the rate it's going, I mean, she just keeps doing remarkable stuff. I mean, this lady is the real freaking deal. So, and
Yeah, she's.
I watched some of it last night too. It was really good.
Do you know where the race results are posted, or do you know if they're anywhere yet? I'm
Yeah,
trying to
well,
look.
I don't know if they're posted on the page yet. There is the Ultra Trail Mount Fuji page I was
Yeah,
on last night. That I was on. I had it pulled up on my Chrome browser. I doubt I still have it pulled up. Because I was trying to find like a live stream for it. But I couldn't really find it. But here it is. This is the news channel right here. And then let's see. She because I can't remember what her time was. Yeah, the 2023 results are the only ones up right now. The 2024 isn't posted on their webpage yet. But anyway, just remarkable. Um, just and you know, I mean, I think the I think the guy who won it came in like overnight. He was like right over 19 hours. And from what I gathered, the course was pretty freaking tough. So the area is beautiful, but the course though, from what from what Jeff Browning was saying last night on the live stream, it was pretty tough. And so, you know, when Jeff Browning says something like that, then you know it's got to be hard. So, you still looking for results?
Yeah, I'm poking around their website.
I mean, it's
I don't
all
I
over.
don't see results. So
Yeah, I mean, it's the only real place to find it is a place you're not on, which is Twitter. So it's posted on there. It's where I think I initially saw it this morning because I literally woke up and that was the first thing I did was search to see how she did because before I went to bed, they thought that she might be able to win it outright. Um,
yeah, that would be so wild.
Yeah, I mean, they thought that because she was gaining so much on the guy that was in first, and then I guess you know he picked up the pace and closed it out, which is amazing. So, anyway, that area is stunning. So, you know, I think Peter Mortimer was there. I can't remember who else was there. I know she was there, but I guess this is a series of races that they put on, and this is I think this might be a newer edition from what I was reading. I'm not exactly certain on it. But anyway, that's very, very exciting for her. So, other than that, let's see what else big has happened. The whole, for those of you who take in the old spring energy, there is the whole awesome sauce um, scandal, I guess you could say. Um, I guess I guess if I remember it correctly, what did they say? There was 180 calories in
160, I think.
160, and then they did like a chemist did like an experiment on it, and it ended up only being like the weight grams was different. It was 16 grams instead of 45, and which equated to 60 calories, not 180. Anyway, there was all sorts of drama about it on the internet with like I guess Sage Canaday is an athlete that is sponsored by Spring, and he got into it with some people and like all sorts of drama around this stuff. But you know, I guess the big piece to all this is the fact that these things are expensive. I mean,
Okay. So let's backtrack a little bit. All right. So this was originally posted, so far as we can tell, by a user on the wonderful the gateway to the internet that is Reddit. A website and forum that's known for its wonderful, just positive, just value added dialogue.
sarcasm. Well, and let's face it, John was being sarcastic. Reddit is
I'm never sorry.
probably one of the most toxic places on the internet.
Oh, I love it.
But anyway, you know, I guess my whole thing with this is truly makes you
So,
wonder.
but yeah, this user though was talking about how they're paying $5 for a gel. Like I'm looking at the original post right now. So you pay $5 for a gel. That is, up there for a gel. Even if it is like what, like 160ish calorie, 180 calories. Excuse me, 180 calories and 45 grams of carbs. Um, $5 a pop is still pretty high for that. So they work in a chemistry lab setting where they decided to essentially break down the gel to compare their findings to the nutritional content that's displayed on the packaging. So they determine what their findings is. They claim that it has 16 grams of carbs instead of 45, and that would essentially work out to about 60 calories instead of the claimed 180. So this person wrote to Spring, started this whole thing online, and you can hop on Reddit, just search, you Google search for awesome sauce gels and click the forums tab. It'll be like the first thing up there because it's gotten a lot of traffic.
At a ton. A lot of people use Spring though.
I don't. Do you? Have you ever tried it?
No, man, those things are disgusting. A lot of people, but a lot of people use Spring though. Like I know people who use it and like Spring Energy, and if they use it and it works for them, that's great. I think
So here's
the
my question, and this is without looking at any like nutritional content. If you want a gel that tastes like applesauce, why would you just not be eating applesauce?
that's I you know what's funny is I've been at races and I have seen people usually usually about, I don't know, it's usually about a quarter way through the race. They'll open up their pack and they'll pull out those baby food applesauce,
Yeah, they got them in the packets. It looks
the
just like an
squeezy,
energy gel. It's
right? The
just
squeezy,
applesauce. It's the
yeah,
same thing.
yeah. And I remember asking a lady who was doing it. I'm like, oh, so you're using that instead of gel? She goes, it's cheaper and it's got more nutritional content than the gel does.
Exactly. Like all these things, they're just essentially just like sugars and like you're gonna burn off anyways. All right, so I'm looking at one of those go-go. It's the go-go squeeze. That's what it's called. Go-go
Hmm.
squeeze fruit on the go applesauce pouches. So in one pouch of those, there's 70 calories and 16 grams of carbs, according to their packaging.
So it's comparable to a
However,
spring energy.
however, you get a 12 pack of those for just under $10.
So you'd be cheaper.
It would be so much cheaper.
So much cheap. Well, and that's only if like that's what you're
Like the carbohydrate content is obviously less. The calories are uh,
comparable.
less. Um, I don't see what the weight on each serving size is, though.
But my whole thing is with gels, and I like goo for the record. Um, I mainly carry them and use them because they're easier to they're easy to carry, like for me. Plus, I like the salted caramel goos like a ton. Like they
The
taste good.
salted caramel is by far the best flavor of a gel if you're going to be doing it.
Yeah. But like I've never been a big like veggie fruity person during a race. Like I want the most unhealthy thing that I can get
Yeah,
my
it usually
hands on,
just burns faster. But
but that's
all
my
right,
whole thing.
so one Spring Energy Awesome Sauce gel is 54 grams. One of the Go-Go squeezes is 32. Is that right? No,
But
38.4 ounces.
but
No,
did
3.2 ounces.
but hold on, didn't Spring Energy write the guy back and say that they were going to retest and reevaluate their their gels to see if it checks out or something like that?
I mean, what else are they going to do? How can they like? recover from that.
I mean, it's pretty tough. I mean, it's really tough, especially like with what they charge. I can't imagine like spending that much on a gel. So, but there was a bunch of like drama around it and like, man, and it's one of those things where like, especially if people feel like they're getting cheated, they're gonna lash out. And
Okay.
obviously,
So just to clarify, the spring energy is 54 grams as far as its weight. The squeezes are 90 grams. So it's, I guess, slightly less efficient, but it just kind of depends on how you look at it. It's a lot cheaper, though.
a lot cheaper. And if you're being crude, you could still get your hands on them and still probably come out cheaper having more of those than doing the awesome sauce. So I don't know. I just know that I would be very ticked off if that came out to be true and I spent a bunch of money on a bunch of things, gels, thinking that they had this nutritional content and it was misled by that. But I guess we'll figure it all out. Like
I mean, at the same time, you can just go down like the candy aisle at like Walmart or Dollar General and get almost like the same thing, just sugars. Like I know someone would argue with me. I know like someone who's more nutritionally savvy would disagree, but I mean, it's really not that different, in my opinion, my unprofessional opinion.
you remember we had Claire on and she basically was just like eat whatever you want. Like it doesn't matter
Exactly.
and she was like, a nutritionist and she didn't really push any of those super healthy things. She was just like, eat whatever makes, whatever you need to eat. Sugar, salt, whatever that looks like. So, so I guess I'm trying to think, is there anything else before we sign on off tonight's episode? I don't think
I don't
so.
know.
I don't think
How are
so.
you
I
feeling
think
about this Titans draft class?
you're what?
But how are you feeling about this Titans draft class?
Trying not to watch it so I don't be disappointed.
Disappointed in what? They have so many like holes and needs that as long as they get like one or two starters, they'll be fine.
Yeah,
It'll
I guess
be a
so.
successful draft class. Like
I guess that's fair. There are all those people that were complaining about Caitlin Clark not getting paid. She signed a $28
okay.
million contract with Nike, so I don't think she's
So
going to have a hard time.
so on that note, all right. So point taken. However, if you're going to complain about that, my rebuttal to that is going to be: when was the last time you watched a WNBA game?
I've never watched one.
Exactly. So if someone wants to complain about the disparity between women's basketball pay, professional women's basketball pay and men's, then just watch a game. Like, come on.
Watch and I think
I'm
that's
not
where
saying it's not fair because it's kind of not, but still just
well
support them. Like, come on.
and I think the positive to this is we saw that this year finally, right? The women's basketball tournament had far more viewers than well not far more but had more viewers than the men's tournament did. Um and that was because of her, because she is a generational player. Obviously, she's got a huge skill set, and I'm hoping that um, that we see that more people will start watching the WNBA because, like, I don't watch the NBA, so I don't watch any of them, so I don't have a dog in the fight. So you know what I mean? Like I can barely watch an NFL game just because I'm usually busy. But like if I was going to watch anything, that would be it, or a baseball game. But like I hope that like with her coming into the sport, like we really see that transfer over from the women's college basketball to the WNBA and more because this year's WNBA draft class was like stacked with talented players and hopefully that translates into more revenue so that those women can get paid properly because obviously dollars and cents, if these teams aren't making a whole lot of money, they can't really pay their players a lot of money, right? So I mean, why do you think the Cowboys and the Yankees can pay their players? Because they make a lot of money. So even if the Cowboys suck. So anyway, sorry, Cowboy
How about them
fans.
boys?
Can't say anything about the Yankees because Yankees are the Yankees. But anyway, I hope the best for her and the WNBA. I hope it takes off. I hope she helps drive that sport and get some more notoriety to it because it's a shame. So, but I guess that shall be it for tonight. We hopefully will come back to you and do a post race report for John and see how it all went. So until the next time, we will see you later. Have a good evening.